The Fed is up to something this week. The market has been showing weakness. Our crypto miners, of course, have been showing weakness and they continue to do so. Bitcoin is finding a bottom and starting to bounce. And let's talk about two other stocks, not Bitcoin related, not directly, anyways, as we go into today's episode. So, first of all, we've got a lot of Feds on deck this week. Yesterday, you may have noticed that as soon as Michelle Bowman took the microphone yesterday, we saw a massive drop in our portfolios. In fact, if you were watching some of the indexes like the IWM, it was down over 2% yesterday. And I know that we invest here often, many of us, in Bitcoin miners and other risky assets that can move 10 to 20% in a single day, but an index moving 2% in a single day is absolutely monumental. It is huge. And it happened basically as soon as she started talking. She was mentioning that the banks are failing again and that there's really not anything they're going to do about it, basically, is what she was kind of alluding to. And that scared the crap out of everyone, which is something the Fed has been doing, honestly, since about 2020. They've been wielding their weapon of the microphone. They found that to be another tool in their toolbox along with, monetary policy. They found that the microphone works almost as good as that monetary policy, where they don't even need to do anything except just talk. And it scares the crap out of everyone. It gets everyone all pumped up. As you see, anytime Jay Powell wears a purple tie, the market moons. Now let's see if he wears one today. He's talking today. But so many Feds are talking today. We had one on Monday, right? Then yesterday we had three. Today we have four. Tomorrow we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 tomorrow. And then on Friday we've got another 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got another 4. And if you look at these names here, you'll see that Michelle Bowman, she's a pretty extreme hawk at the Fed. She is speaking more than once. She spoke yesterday. She speaks today, and we hear from her again on Friday. Why do we need to hear from her 3 times in a single week? What can she possibly have so much to say to us, the general public, so frequently this week? What for? Other than perhaps the Fed sees the market as being too hot, and they need to come out and wield their microphone, their new tool, their new favorite tool, and get the market to come down so that they can start to safely cut those rates, because they said they want 3 rate cuts this year. They can't really do that if the market is at all-time highs and unemployment is under 4%. They can't really do that because it will start with a drop in the market, but then soon turn into an overheated market, which will lead to probably a pretty big recession. So what do they need first? They need employment data to start looking more favorable towards the condition of cutting rates. They need to get the S&P 500 off of its highs and coming down to, whatever correction level they see fit before they can make those cuts. And one of the ways I personally think they're doing that is by wielding the microphone, putting the hawks on deck, and scaring the absolute crap out of all of us, telling us all of our banks are going to fail. And then we sell our positions, the market comes down, unemployment goes up, and they go, hey, we can cut rates now. Of course, that's just a conspiracy. Take it with a grain of salt. If you agree with me, put a 100 in the comments, and we'll move on from there, and we'll just see what happens. So, first thing I'd like to talk about today is Bitcoin. Bitcoin bounced. It came right down to my line here at 64,500. Came right to it, bounced up. I love technical analysis. It was. I also got an upward channel going on here. It came out of my downward channel here. If we don't get back into this channel today, I'm going to go ahead and say that this cup and handle invalidated if it does not get back into this channel today. I don't know if it will. It might not. If it does, then I'm going to go ahead and say that this is invalidated, and that's we'll just move on from there. What can you do? But I do like that it bounced off this level here. We did stay just above the 50-day moving average, and we are starting to see strength in Bitcoin again today. We're up 2%. That's great. CleanSpark also up tiny bit. It's up 0.71% today. It started off down, but that is good. It's showing that we are slowing on the selling, that we might take a pause here. We might not get any lower than $16.34. I would like it if we did. That would be great. My portfolio has been suffering the last week, but I'm also not against picking up more CleanSpark shares at lower prices. I'm not really, that's fine. Of course, this is not financial advice and not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. But I do like that Clean Spark is looking like it is bottoming out in its current area. If we see another day or two with wicks on the bottom of those candles, I will feel confident about moving back up to 18 and then eventually back up to the 20s or higher. That would be fantastic. Let's take a look at Mara real quick. Mara is in the same position. We're actually up 1.57% today on Mara. That's really nice. We're up in the 20s again. Notice how it keeps coming down to this line I drew here at 1978, stopping and then turning around real close to this line over and over and over and over and over and over again. That's kind of where Mara likes to trade right now. I think picking it up, and of course, again, not financial advice or a suggestion of buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever, but I do think picking up Mara around this $19.80 to $19.60 range is probably a pretty good accumulation zone based on the fact that it just keeps coming back to this line repeatedly. Without really going too far below it. Now, sometimes it breaks below it in a dramatic fashion for a few days, but it quickly recovers back up into it. As you can see on the chart here, it keeps doing that. So that's pretty great. And we're at that zone right now. So maybe it's a good place. It's a good place to accumulate, perhaps. RIOT's doing not much. It's up 0.33%. It's probably going to have a flat day. We got a red arrow here on my indicator. I did get a comment yesterday asking to release this indicator publicly. I am working on that, so hold tight. I got to see how I can publish this thing and get it to everyone comfortably and easily. Just make it available. As soon as I find some time, I'm going to go ahead and make that publicly available. So if you want this indicator that I like to use, then you can have it. Anyways, we got a red arrow on here, which indicates potentially further downside on RIOT. I really hope that ends up not being the case, but we do have RSI folding down or hanging out down here at the bottom of the chart, indicating that we could potentially be at a bottom even with that red arrow. So you got to use it in conjunction with other things. Like back here, this red dot on January 22nd, usually I would say that's something like continuation, right? But if I come down to the RSI, I can see that RSI was oversold, and on the VIX fix here, that was green, indicating a VIX bottom. So I took that red dot as, no, that's probably a reversal because the other momentum signals are saying that price is probably going to reverse here, and then it did. So yeah, this is meant to be like continuation, a signal of continuation, but if the RSI and the VIX don't agree, then it probably isn't. And then the same thing with this red dot back over here on March 18th. The VIX wasn't green, but the bars were tall, and you could see that the RSI was closer to the bottom than the top or the middle, and that turned out to be a bit of a reversal point versus a continuation. So things that I learned about my indicator as I use it more. Let's take a look at the next one. Bit Digital is a whole fat nothing plus 0.41% today. It's so hard to see this chart because these SMAs just look like absolute spaghetti right now. We came off the 15. We're bouncing up. We need to get up to the 5 here at 260, which is also coinciding with the 50 at 260, 263 level. We got to get above those two so that we can go back and test the 200 once more and hopefully this time break right through it and continue on upward. It's been holding us back for such a long time. Can we just get through that thing already? That would be great. Bit Farms, we are up actually 2.75% today. They're actually not doing so bad compared to their peers. And of course, that's probably coming off of some of the good news that they had the other day in relation to acquiring more Bitcoin miners so that they could increase their production of Bitcoin. So that's been really good. We're up here in this really tight trading zone between 238 and about 206. We've been really just in this zone since March 12th, so it's been a couple of weeks. We've just been bouncing around in this zone. We really need to get back up above that $2.38 zone so we can come back and test the 50 at 260 to test that 50-day EMA. And once we get above that 50-day EMA, honestly, a $3 is going to probably come in pretty quickly. And I'm thinking that's probably going to be after the halving. We'll probably see some buildup and maybe a flag for a few days or a week or two. And then once the halving comes through, once we see that first month after the halving, their production report and where things stand at that point after the halving, I think that's when we'll start seeing these things start to take off again. So right now, I'm just kind of holding tight, waiting to see what happens. So let's take a look. Oh, let's see what happened to IREN. See what happened to IREN today. So we had that 20% day. Then we had a 10% day down with the doji, and today we're actually up a little bit. We're up 2.46%. They're also still enjoying the benefits of having that good news the other day. We are in a squeeze, as you can see from the top here, but it isn't moving up, which means they're probably potentially coming up to the top of the Bollinger Band, which means when that squeeze breaks, it might break downward. So let's take a look. Where is it in relation to the Bollinger Band? Yeah, we're really close to the Bollinger Band. So when this squeeze decides to break, it might be an intense, quick move downward to the bottom of the Bollinger Band. So watch out for that specifically. That doesn't mean it has to happen, but it does mean that the risk is there. Okay. So that's it for the Fed and Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners today. So let's talk about two other stocks that can't remember if I've talked about them on this channel specifically or not, but we're going to talk about Tesla. Why am I going to talk about Tesla? So this here is a list of public companies that own Bitcoin. Okay. Tesla's on this list. Tesla is actually number 3, right behind MicroStrategy and Marathon Digital. They're above HUT, they're above Coinbase. They have more money more money, excuse me, they do have more money, but they have more Bitcoin than Coinbase, which is the largest publicly traded crypto exchange in the United States, possibly in the world. They have more Bitcoin than Coinbase. Coinbase is the steward of all of the Bitcoin in all of the spot traded ETFs in the United States, and they only have 9,000 Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So Tesla has more than that. Does Tesla believe more in Bitcoin than Coinbase? No, probably not, but it's fun to see. Anyways, some other ones that are on here that aren't Bitcoin miners, Block, you might know Square, not Square, but SQ Block, they have 8,000. That's really interesting. So I'm probably going to talk about them here in the near future. But right now I want to talk about Tesla. Why do I want to talk about Tesla? One, they have a crap load of Bitcoin on their balance sheet compared to, a lot of other companies and compared to a lot of Bitcoin miners. And I mean, they're significantly behind Mara and MicroStrategy, but like so is everybody else. But the other reason I want to talk about them is that they have been down. They have been beaten down for a while now. This doesn't mean that it's time to buy it. I think it means it's time to watch it. It's time to start watching Tesla. Tesla has come down dramatically from, where was this at? From July of last year. So July of 2023, we have come down. From July of 2023, we have come down. The complete down move was a total of 46.36%. How much more downward pressure do we have on this stock? My thought is probably not a ton. I do think that there is potential still for a downward move, and honestly, I think that downward move will probably have us come down to about 146 or so, maybe fill this gap. Let me get this here. Maybe fill this gap. Maybe wick a little bit further to like 140, maybe high 130s. Where's my horizontal line? There it is. Okay. I think we're probably going to come down to here. And in fact, this shouldn't be red. This should be green because this is where I'm looking to buy. Okay. So we are doing a bit of a pattern here. If we get below 160.89 cents, like $160.89, if we get below that, we are coming down big. We're coming down. Minimum will come down to about 153, maybe 155. If we get that low, I think that this gap will work a bit like a magnet and take us down to about 145 if that were to happen on Tesla. So why does this interest me? It's because Tesla's beaten down, right? Tesla's been taking a beating. They are a big, big company. They do a lot of really pretty amazing things. They also have huge swings. They've been getting punished right now off of the auto market not being so strong because interest rates are high and competition is tough. And you have the threat of a major, major competitor out of China coming in and disrupting their position in the United States. And that competitor is BYD, or Build Your Dreams. They've been making some really impressive EVs in China and other countries, and they have been eyeing the US market for potentially importing their cars, which is scary for Tesla because the average price for the Build Your Dreams cars are in the teens in terms of thousands. So we're talking like 12, 14, $18,000 versus, $50, $60,000 for a Tesla. Now, those prices will probably be higher in the US market because of shipping, or maybe manufacturing is more expensive wherever they do it for the ones that will be imported here, but they will still significantly undercut Tesla while providing a similar level of performance. And the areas that Tesla can beat them at are in self-driving services that they provide, their AI side of their business, and potentially infinitely scaling their human labor through things like robotics and AI. They are, Build Your Dreams is a car company only. Tesla is more than a car company, it is a technology company. And right now, it is starting to be valued as a car company because they've been having some issues with their deliveries. Cybertruck was lackluster. They have yet to announce an economy vehicle in the Model 2, but we have things that are exciting coming down the pipe for them. They do have their major supercomputer that Elon's been building and using AI and developing their own AI. They've been developing their own robotics, full self-driving while it is not ready yet. And they have been stuck in some lawsuits over it lately. Eventually, they will get it down and they will be the best at it. And they will probably license it out very similarly to how they have licensed out their plug for their cars. So there's a lot of good things on the future here for this stock, not to mention the pretty decent Bitcoin treasury that they're holding on to that will appreciate greatly going into this halving. So I think once we see a bottom out on Tesla, now this is not saying that Tesla is ready to buy now. I'm not saying that. And of course, this is not financial advice and not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any asset whatsoever. But I am now watching Tesla very closely. I want to see it come down a little bit more, maybe down to 145, maybe down into the high 130s. I want to see it vacillate there for a while and then start moving back up. And once it starts moving back up, it might, if the chart looks good, be time to start accumulating that stock. All right, the next one that is slightly connected to Bitcoin. They don't hold Bitcoin on their balance sheet, but they are integral to the production of Bitcoin, and that is NVIDIA. NVIDIA has been on an absolute tear for what, like the last year and a half. I can tell you I lost a pile of money trying to short this thing back when it was $200 and was going absolutely insane. I could not have fathomed that it would actually go up to almost $1,000 from where it was there when I thought it was overvalued at 200. How wrong I was. Anyways, this stock is starting to show weakness. It is finally starting to show weakness. Now, how do I know that? I know that because this little red arrow right here matched with an RSI at 50, right at 50, right at that midline. And with the VIX fix here on the daily, not really showing us a spike of any type. Not really. It is a bit of a high bar. I would like that bar to be a little bit smaller, but it's not green. And it's not green, it's gray. And the RSI is only at 50. And we got a red arrow on here. We've got a Bollinger Band Keltner channel squeeze going on. Let's see where we are in relation to the Bollinger Band. Oh, we're right in the middle. It could go either direction. And you know what? It's leaning down. So I am, and of course, not financial advice, not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever, but I am looking at NVIDIA to come down. It'll probably come up pretty quick afterwards because I think we are going to see huge demand for NVIDIA chips as we go into the halving. If you remember last halving, you couldn't even buy a graphics card for like a year and a half. You'd get old garbage graphics cards for selling for like $2,000. It was absolutely insane. I think we might get back to a similar level, not quite as badly because of course there were the supply chain issues that we won't have this time, but I do think that people will start trying to mine Bitcoin at home again, which is a silly thing because it's just crazy expensive and not worth bothering at your own home unless you get free electricity. But I think we will see a surge in this again, but first I think we'll see weakness. I think that this red arrow will play out as long as we stay below on price, that $905 level, as long as we stay below that, which is that 15 moving average, we could potentially see this thing moving down. I think the first level of support is going to be 861, which is just above the Bollinger Band. And if that doesn't hold, which it might not, because when these squeezes release, it's usually pretty violent, and it might blow through the Bollinger Band for a couple of days, and we might come down to the 50 at about $786. That's what I'm looking at for NVIDIA. And I do think that near the end of the year, we'll probably be back up to 1,000 or even higher on NVIDIA, but short term. Now, this is short term. Long term, I'm bullish on NVIDIA. Short term, I think that some profit taking needs to happen. I think that a little bit of fear, uncertainty, and doubt will probably take hold once that profit taking is really showing itself in full force. and we'll get ourselves a bit of a retracement, probably maybe a 15, 20, hopefully a little bit higher, like 20, 25%. Let's see what that would look like. So from the peak here, if we had from this peak, I'm gonna go from that peak. 20% would take us just under the 50-day moving average, down to $773. Okay, 25% would take us down to just under the 50, which it could wick down there pretty easily, just under the 50 at about $725, which is still very, very expensive. It's a very high number, much higher than it was, just a year ago, significantly higher. It's barely a pullback, right? But that would be a healthy move down from here with some profit taking and just a regular cycle. Come back, test the 50, move back on up, or go slightly below the 50, move back on up. So I'm looking for short-term weakness, maybe a pullback of 20, 25% on this once this Keltner channel Bollinger Band squeeze lets loose. And then from there, perhaps see it come back up in an upward movement from there. So for the short term, looking for a slight pullback on NVIDIA. And then later in the year, probably around summer or Q4, see it charge right back up again and smash through that $1,000 level here at some point in the near future. Of course, if they do a stock split, it won't be 1,000, it'll be some other number, whatever they decide the split is. And of course, that'll send the stock charging up because people can afford it finally. And they've been waiting for that for a long time. But if you've been waiting for NVIDIA to fall, like I have for quite a while, I think our signal is starting to form. Now, it is not there yet. It is not there yet. It is still time to wait and watch, but it is time to watch more closely than we were before. That's all I'm saying right here with this. The move hasn't happened. It hasn't been confirmed yet, but it is time to closely monitor these things with Tesla and NVIDIA to see where they move and see if they go through those types of patterns that I've mentioned just now, and if they will move up from there or not. So time to watch them close. With that said, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a profitable day.